Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for following these last few weeks. It's been such a pleasure and, privilege to work with all of you. Joining us from everywhere in the world. So just before, I think Altynai asked us to, she's going to start in around 5 minutes. But before we start with Altynai and with a very exciting interactive session on survey tools, we thought we wanted to hear a little bit from you guys about the summer exchange and learn, what you guys are enjoying, what you guys aren't enjoying, and so on. So we've prepared a little questionnaire to start us off, and we are just going to get a kind of a quick mid feedback from everyone on what are you guys enjoying from the summer exchange so far. It just helps Reiki, SLN, and everyone as we prepare these events in the future. So if you can go to the link in the chat and write in your responses, it would be fantastic. And some responses are coming in. Really enjoying, great organization, great speakers, fantastic. Enriching. These are very positive words. Amazing exchange, super, from the different teams. Different case studies, exchange, the discussions possibly, diversity of skills. Nice, yeah, we tried to cover a number of different topics, that are developing in the field. But if you guys also get a wind of something quite new, a new tool, please do email them to Reiki, SLN because we could feature those in the future. Any last few responses before we go to the next question? Speakers. Yes, we are so lucky to have such great, inspiring, but also such knowledgeable team of different organizations and specialists throughout the world working on snow leopards. So I think, the snow leopard community is very, very lucky to have such great scientists and conservationists. Great. Okay. Useful speakers, but this is great feedback. Thank you all. And knowledge sharing. We see a lot of the word about sharing, exchange. So we'll keep that really in mind for the future. Next, please let us know, what would you like to see covered in the future? Hi, Altynai, I see you're there. We're just going to finish this survey and then we'll pass it over to you in no time. But thanks, we're very excited about the survey toolbox. So what topics would you like covered in the future, perhaps in the winter exchange we sometimes have, or in the next summer exchange? I would like to talk more about climate change and its impact on snow leopard habitats. Great. Yes, that is a very pertinent issue. And there's so many different ways that this could be approached, and we can definitely explore that topic. Any other ideas on topics to explore? More information on smart experiences. Yes, the SMART team are working in many different countries throughout Central Asia, but also the wider snow leopard range. So we can definitely get more case studies about using the SMART technology as it also develops. WCS is a partner of SLN and they're really happy to share. So that's a good feedback. Illegal wildlife trade on snow leopards and prey. Okay, thank you. That's something we have not actually talked about, and there are teams that specialize on that. So we could reach out to them, for example, at Interpol. They do provide trainings, so that is something we could do. climate change, indigenous people, and local communities. Great. Yeah, we can look more into community conservation as well. We touched upon it, but there's so much more on that topic. Data analysis and publications would be a great option. One session covered with some researchers and their experiences in snow leopard conservation. Yes, okay, so one more open session where people can maybe share more open case studies. Interspecific interactions in snow leopard habitats. Very interesting. Yes, there have been some work on this using different coloring and camera trap work. So that would be very interesting to look at. Let's see, any one or two more, and then I'm going to pass it on to Altynai. Gender mainstreaming in natural resource management. This is actually a topic that we have been trying to get with the IUCN gender specialist group to come and talk. So we can definitely follow up with that. Thank you for whoever suggested that. Okay, any last topics? Then we're going to move on. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the next one. Oops, sorry, something did come in. Brief presentations from a range of countries on progress since the Bishkek Declaration. Great, okay, nice. And that could be linked also with the GSLEP meeting that happens annually. So now, just to warm up, before we pass on to Altynai, we wanted to hear what you love about snow leopards. Just to what inspires you to come to the office, go to the field, be here today. Adaptations. Yeah, and it's why are they only in mountain habitats? That's a big question we have. Why have they adapted to be in these, just restricted to these areas? Their behavior, the threats, the name itself. Fascinating. Thank you. So please, this survey is still live, and me and Raki can refer to it later. So feel free to still input your responses into this survey. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and pass over to Altynai and Raki. Thank you all.
Thank you, Justine. Hi, everyone. Hi, Raki. Yeah, everybody. So excited to be here, and yeah, sorry for a delay. I had slight connection problems. You guys hear me well? Okay, cool. So yeah, again, happy to be here and to see so many people joining. So I'm hoping for a very interactive session. And let me share my screen in the meantime. So yeah, welcome to the session, and it's as you might know, about data collection and visualization, and two specific tools I'd like to introduce you to, KoBoToolbox and Looker Studio. So basically, for survey data collection, recently came across this tool, KoBoToolbox, and found it pretty cool. And the Looker Studio is previously, it's Data Studio, actually, the Google product, and it was renamed recently, and I've been working with it, many times. So I find it also quite nice for data analysis and visualization. So yeah, that's the focus of this session. And let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Altynai. I'm joining you guys from Berlin today. And I live, somehow between Berlin and Bishkek, my hometown. And I'm a data analyst and have been working for snow leopard conservation project since 2021. So we've been doing, snow leopards research in the south of Kyrgyzstan together with Pantera. And that's been, I think we've already made one or two sessions about it, about our project and the survey results with the Snow Leopard Network. So maybe some of you have joined already those sessions. So now I'm kind of combining working in environmental sector and using my technical background, working on different environmental projects. Yeah, so let's just start. Here you can see, in fact, a few pictures from our research, like I said, in the south of Kyrgyzstan, when we went for, collecting baseline data on snow leopard, on human-wildlife conflict. And yeah, we actually made them paper-based. So there are pros and cons, of course, of each type of method. I wish we didn't do it paper-based, but back then it was a really good solution because, yeah, we had limited time, limited resources. And it also, for me, it was my first survey design, a field survey project. So, yeah. But now I think I would definitely opt for a digital survey whenever I have a chance. And here you can see like how we were collecting data, like sometimes on a car, like wherever you can find a place. And yeah, sometimes it was really cold, and probably you guys, many of you have been doing different types of surveys. So you have experience, you know how it is, like what are the some hurdles that come with it. And on the right picture is actually the data collection. So we were actually, the data input. So when we were collecting, when we were doing the surveys, maybe once in every few days, we were trying to input them directly when we had time. But yeah, it was, this is our surveyor Ilyas, very carefully inputting data. And I think, yeah, it was really, it was probably one of the most challenging parts, because first of all, you have so limited time, you don't really have time to, input, because it takes a lot of time. You need to connect your computer, and in those remote areas you don't sometimes have electricity. And yeah, in our case we didn't have even time for those regular survey inputs, so most of them we actually did after we came back. And yeah, one part that comes with it is that you actually forget a lot of things. And then especially if you are inputting somebody else's surveys, you tend to not understand what they meant, so you need to contact them, and sometimes they forget already what they meant. And in our surveys we had already like quite a few open-ended questions. So yeah, that was some part, I think, which was the most challenging. And for these reasons, I recently was also looking into the some digital tools. But yeah, let me share with you the session contact. So what are we going to do today? So first of all, the goal of the session, like I said, I'm going to introduce you to two survey tools, or let's say survey collection and data visualization tools. And the goal for me would be that you guys have an idea of how these tools work. And it's going to be a very practical session. It's not about methodology behind how you design a survey. And we're going to do a mock-up survey. So, and it might not make really sense. I prepared a little mock-up survey for us to digitize it. And for me, the goal is like really to have an interactive and hands-on session. So you know how this tool works, how to import data, how to export data, and whenever you have to start a new survey project, maybe you can consider using one of those tools. And I'll start with giving overview of the KoBoToolbox tool, and then we're gonna move on to designing a survey with Kobo together. And I've seen that many of you have sent your Kobo accounts. That's great. So I'm going to add you as collaborators to the survey project, so we can so you can have access. And then we're going to move on to the Looker Studio and how to analyze data, how to import data there. I think the priority time-wise for me is going to be KoBoToolbox for this session. And then I'm definitely going to give a demo on Looker Studio. But yeah, if it's going to be as interactive as the first part, we're going to see depending on the time. Yeah, so before we move on, I'd like Raki now to share the Mentimeter questions that we wanted to ask you. So to know your previous experience on the survey tools. Right, I see Raki has sent a poll. So you guys can, yeah, I see already results. Nice. So we have already some results. Let's wait maybe a bit, but so far, most people prefer paper-based service, which is cool. There are a lot of advantages to it. A paper-based service, I think the biggest advantage is that you don't need much resources. Whereas for digital-based survey, you need proper phones, you need to be dependent on digital devices, make sure you have stable electricity and how you call those chargers? Power banks. Yeah, so basically, and then also you have to train, of course, your team. But on that, in terms of training, I think you have to train both. And for digital-based surveys, what I like about them, you can set up all the possible data validations within your surveys, so which is not possible with paper-based surveys. So already when inputting data, you can see that, it might not allow you already to input some of the answers. And maybe, if you guys feel free to also join and share why, who prefers paper-based service, maybe some points that I didn't mention yet. So I see Un is saying old is good. Yeah, technologies don't often work in extreme conditions. That's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's usually remote areas with no connection for days. So that's a really great point. So maybe we can move to the next question. Great. So we have nobody that, combining paper and app. That's cool. So far nobody used KoBoToolbox, so which means you guys will learn something today. I'm excited. Somebody has. I'm curious, who has already used Kobo?
It was me.
Okay.
But still, I'm curious to learn from you. I've used it only a few times with our team.
Cool. All right, so I guess it's quite representative. I think we have one more question to go. Yeah, maybe other tools you guys have worked with, like Google Forms, or I think there's Typeforms, SurveyMonkey. There are a bunch of survey tools there. Not a disappointment to use Excel. It's a great tool. And you can set up so many, like customize the data inputs, constraints, and validations in Excel, which is quite nice. And many people know how to use Excel, so you don't need to like. And what is cool about having data input in Excel, that you don't have to actually digitize it. So it's already like in Excel format, so you can move on to analyzing it. What is ZSL camera trap analysis tool? Nice. Haven't heard of it. They're quite new tools for me that I haven't. SPSS, yeah. I'm curious about Fulcrum. Never heard of it.
Fulcrum is like KBox. It's a digital survey tool.
Okay. Yeah, there are many apps there these days. Nice. So, do we have more questions? Okay, yeah. The last question, I think, is who of you guys have heard of Looker Studio or maybe used it before? It's actually previously was called Data Studio. And they, I think, a year ago, they renamed it. Yeah, it's quite a popular tool among the free tools for data analysis. And yeah, I'm going to give you an intro on both of the tools. So I guess we're done with the Mentimeter surveys. Thanks so much for your responses. That was really interesting to know. And I learned something. So I'm going to check out those other survey tools later on. And yeah, then let's go back to our surveys and Kobo. Here, yeah, why KoBoToolbox? Just to give you a few reasons why I find it quite good. So first of all, it's open source, it's free, it's quite user friendly. That is like it's designed so you can just drag drop. Like yeah, it's really user friendly. I find it, but you can also customize your survey results, your survey design, like make some hints, make yeah, helper text, and yeah, make it look like nicely formatted paper-based survey. So in that way, it's also quite cool. And yeah, what is cool about it, it works offline. So yeah, there was one of the comments that yeah, it's pretty rough conditions usually when we are collecting survey data. And the cool thing about it, you can actually collect data offline, and once you have access to internet, you can upload your data to the server, to the survey. Sorry, to the server. And I've actually tested it. It works quite well. So in that sense, yeah, I think it was right, who mentioned this. So yeah, you can consider next time. But first, of course, you need to test if it really works for your study design and like how many days you might be without internet and so on. Yeah, and it offers real-time data visualization, which is pretty cool. So there's built-in reporting functionalities in Kobo. So during collecting your data, you can already see some statistics, some summaries. Okay, how many surveys have we done? In which areas? How are my surveys doing? How quick they are? Like, yeah, how does the data look like? Does it look plausible or not? So I think this is also really cool side of Kobo. But it, of course, it's limited, but it's just enough for just checking in your data during the survey process, in my opinion. And last point, it's easy to integrate it to other software tools for further analysis. So here, yeah, it allows for various data export options, and we're gonna move on to it later. So it's you can collect your data and then import it to probably any tool and analyze it there. All right, so yeah, let's now move on to the interactive part and design survey together. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a project, a form, and yeah, I'm going to show you like this basic things to start with, how you collaborate with others on your projects, and how you set up different project types, question types, and how this data visualization, which I mentioned already, works, and how the data export works. Yeah, and this is our plan for Kobo for today. And this is just a text, this is just a checkbox for me, like for the question types that I would like to show you. Yeah, that's we can move later to this one. So now what we are going to do is actually, I'm going to share with you guys this survey. So I've prepared this mock-up survey. And this is, by the way, the paper-based survey that we used for our project. So I'm just going to replicate it, and not all of the questions, of course, because it's quite long. And already this is a reduced, shortened version. Yeah, and just to give you an idea what we're going to do, I'm going to show you the questionnaire. Yeah, so yeah, we have some household survey. We can enter a date here and some initials of the interviewee person, and yeah, age, maybe some data, some personal information. Where does this person come from? So some interesting part we're going to do is how to set up those cascading questions. So when you select one question, you get to have answers, for example, for this administrative districts. If you select Osh, and then you immediately get a district that refer to that. And for Chui, for example, it's different set. And by the way, this is fake data. I just put in some data. Might be not true. Yeah, and then you get to see the villages in Allied district and so on. So this is quite nice, and already limits the data, like how to say, maybe some implausible data that you might need to clean further. In like entering data this way, it's already limits mistakes probability. And then, yeah, some coordinates type of questions. And this is nice, actually, because you can indeed locate yourself. Right now, I think I clicked that Koba cannot track my location, but yeah, normally it would find me. But you can also search for a place. So for example, if I search for Saritash Osh, it should be able to find it. And let's check. Yeah, it found it. So it's nice. So you can then navigate yourself. This is cool, and it automatically uploads the coordinates. And sometimes even altitude, not in this case. Yeah, and then we can have like maybe a few questions on the different type of questions on household situation, how much, yeah, livestock the respondent has, and yeah, some select one, select many questions. This is what I wanted to show you, and yeah, let me maybe just move on to the survey itself and share it with you. Now I just need to remember how to do it. I think it's here, and try to share it with you. We're going to build from scratch the survey, so I'm just gonna set up a new project. So here you have several options. You can build it from scratch. You can use a template. You can upload an XLS form. I'm gonna talk a bit about this XLS form later on. And you can import it also via URL. So what we're going to do is build it from scratch. And the project name, we can do maybe SLN survey. And yeah, we can do some description. This is a household survey, and required is a sector. So we're going to put up environmental sector. And by the way, KoBoToolbox is widely used for humanitarian sector. I think it was built for specifically humanitarian like surveys, actually. So that's how it got popular. But it can be, of course, used in many other sectors. So country, we're gonna put on maybe Kyrgyzstan. Yeah. Okay, let's create this project. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm going to add you guys, those who have shared their accounts as collaborators, 4 tabs, the summary tab, and here you would usually see like submissions, how many surveys you would collect, and so on. So right now we don't have any submissions, so it's empty, that's why. Yeah, and then we see the form. So when we are designing a form, we can deploy different versions, and we can, for example, make one version, then maybe deploy it, then do some changes to it, and then it's going to be another version. So yeah, here all our versions of the same project in the same projects is going to be stored. And here, from here, we can deploy our project actually. Yeah, the data tab is going to work when we are actually going to collect data. So after we design a survey with everybody, we are going to become respondents for ourselves and collect some data. And in the settings, here is where you can manage maybe some sharing options. You can even use some API, but I think it's not so relevant right now. Yeah, I think that's mostly it. And when the data tab is going to work, we will also be able to export data. So this is from where you set up the settings for data export. Okay, then let's just start designing our survey. Now we have to edit our current version of the survey. Yeah. Okay, so here is the main page where you can see the, yeah, basically it's blank right now. So what we want to do is to make a survey, proper survey form out of it. So but in order to add a question, just need to click on this plus sign. And for example, maybe we just write, yeah, our name of our project here, and it's going to be just, I think, note, maybe as a note. So we can, it's like a caption. Yeah, okay, Ali, sure. So yeah, I guess what we can do, if you guys want to do it together, let's go back. I'm just going to save it, and yeah, it might be a bit overwhelming at start. So get it. So what you need to do is to go to this form tab, and here you should be able to see this edit in form builder. And this is where we're going to go. And I hope you guys see it the same way, because I gave you the editing rights. And if it doesn't work for you, let me know. Does it work, Ali?
Yeah, it's working. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Good. So then if you're on this page, yeah, so this you can, with the plus sign, we can add as many questions as we want. So maybe I suggest let's add a couple of questions together. Like I can show you how to do it. And yeah, and then the idea is to split into the breakout rooms where we, like, you guys can enter the questions like of your choice and play around a bit, and then yeah, then it's gonna be, I think, more easy than to just follow immediately what I'm gonna do. But feel free to do it as well, of course. And just feel free to just interrupt me if anything is unclear. So first thing, we're gonna enter here some personal details, maybe some, yeah, initials of a person. Yeah, this is a type of question when you are entering and adding a question here, then you can see different types of questions that you can select. So maybe, yeah, it's, of course, it depends on the type, like if you want, if it's going to be a number, for example, if it would be an age type of question, that then I would select here number. And since it's initials, it should be text. So I'm just going to select text. And this way, Kobo will know automatically that it can only allow for text inputs. So I'm going to name this your initials, and we can do a hint, maybe respondents initials. Okay. And then we just move on to the next question. Yeah, maybe the age question, how old are you? Like I said, it would be a numeric type of question, number, and we can ask people like, how old are you? Yeah. And here, of course, what is cool about KoBoToolbox, like I said, we can set up some data validations and criteria for our questions. So, of course, you probably don't want people to enter some random data, and maybe you only want respondents to be 18 years old and up. So we can set up here, if you click on the settings image button, you can see, you'll be able to see this box where you can select different question options. And yeah, you can select if it's a mandatory response. I would say it's a mandatory question. And here you can also set up skip logic. We will move on to it later, and validation criteria. So for validation, we can add a condition. For this numeric type of question, we can say response has to be more than, let's say, 18, maybe 17. So it's at least 18. And we can set up that it's maybe less than, I don't know, our respondent might be less than 90 years old. That's the requirement. And that's it. Then we can just save it. And questions should match all of these criteria, yes. So now when clicking save button here, we save our questions, and at any point we can click here in a preview form on the left side. And when you click it, you can preview your form, obviously, and you can see how your form looks like so far. And let's test it already. Yeah, let's enter something here. And let's see if our data validation works. And if we are entering 10, is it gonna work? No, it says the value is not allowed. And we can set up also a hint here that the respondent should be at least 18 to 90 years old. Yeah, so it's even easier to validate. Okay, so I hope this is clear so far. So here we've already learned how to do validations, and you can do really like add a lot of conditions here. Let's move on maybe to another question, maybe gender, which is going to be so we have here for list type of questions. So gender, we give option, right? If male or female. And since it's going to be just one option, we the data type of this question is select one. So this is what we are going to give as an option. And here we can provide our options. It's male and female, and gender is the name of our question. And that's it. So we are only allowing one type of question with it. Yeah, so let's save it. Let's check it out in the form preview. So here you can see this is how it looks like. We can only select one of those options. Cool. And now what we could do is a select many questions. So when you don't only have one option to select, but you can select many options. So for example, we have here section household situation, and we wanted to know how, what was the household situation of the respondent, which type of livestock did they have, what type of animal product did they produce. So we can maybe do this question number 6. Yeah, I was just gonna copy. All right, and we don't need number here. So we are going to do it as a select many question, right? Because same household, it can produce, it can have many types of livestock, and yeah, can be all the type. Yeah, I'm not gonna input all of them, but just to give you an idea here. And we save it, and now in the preview, we can check. Yeah, so we can have here as many options as we want to select. Yeah, so that works. So that's the difference between select one and select many type of question. All right. And now let me show you how to do a location type of, or like geographic type of question. So what you can do, or yeah, let's do it like this. So there is one of the options is point. So you can select coordinate, like point type of question. Yeah, we have a question if we can have more options like other, in case there are people who identify themselves. Yeah, of course we can. Sorry about that. Yeah. And by the way, you have editing rights, so you feel free to collaborate and add options. And in fact, I encourage you to edit it. I'm just not doing this as a very real type of survey, because like I said, the focus is on technical skills rather than on the survey design.
Altynai, I have a question. For the other, can you have an option where they write it out?
Yeah.
Is that also possible?
That should be possible, but I'm not sure if it's possible with select one. Let's check. All right, so yeah, I think what would be needed to do is that you have this option other here, but you add a next question where you ask, please specify. And this question, you put it as text, and because it's going to be dependent on this option other, if person selects other, then you will need to, like what we can do is a skip logic. So the skip logic is when you say skip this question unless one of the previous questions is according to some condition, and we can add a condition here. And here we can, our condition is gender and other. And this way we should on Trilla, we'll get back to you shortly. So let me just show you here. Yeah, I probably entered some blank option. That's why it's showing as option 4. But look, right now I'm only seeing gender. And then next question is how much of the following livestock you had last year. And if I select other, then it asks you to specify, and you can type in everything here. Yeah, that's a good question, Justine. In fact, it was, yeah, one of the things that I wanted to show. So thanks for asking. Now we know how to build different types of questions. What I wanted to show you, the current location. Actually, that's even it. So we can say, please enter coordinates. And it's automatically going to, when you would log in, I think you guys should see a pop-up, let KoBoToolbox record your location. And if you answer it as yes, then it's going to, I think, locate you automatically. Otherwise, you can locate yourself by typing the place you're in or by navigating, and and then it's going to find you, like, and set up the coordinates. Yeah, so that's how easy the GPS coordinates type of question works. Super easy and super cool, I find. It's working for you, Rashid. I'm glad. Okay, and maybe before knowing the exact coordinate of a respondent, we want to know in which administrative district this person is. So remember, in my mock-up survey, which I've showed you at the beginning, we've had the list of regions and districts and villages, which are dependent on each other. So I'm going to show you how to do that, because it's a little bit tricky, but also not too difficult. So here in the presentation, I added a link with cascading questions. So this type of questions is called cascading, and there is no like a nice interface for this in KoBoToolbox, but rather I would call it a workaround, but it's quite easy still to understand it. So how does it work? Yeah, here is the link to how there is basically a template in Google Sheets, how you can set up this type of questions. And there, what you just need to do is, just to copy that sheet and change your type of questions and the answers. So let's maybe just quickly do it together so it's easier to grasp. So now the first thing I do, I need to make a copy of it. I already did it, so I'm not going to do it right now. And as you can see here, how it works, we have several columns. We have name, label, country, region, and also country and region here in our rows, and the list names. So basically the list name refers to our administrative regions in our example, and in this example too, actually it's country, region, and town. And the name and label, they are kind of the same, but not. So the name is how you would like your administrative region name to be stored in your background, let's say, or in your database. So label, on the contrary, is how you would like the user to see the label. So here, for example, there are special characters. Maybe you will like to have some very, very long name like San Francisco, but to make it easier for you in the database, you would like to store it as SF, so some abbreviations and no capital letters. So I think capital letters are not even allowed. That's why, yeah. So that's the difference between the name and the label. Just remember that. And to make it easier, you can just always make them the same, so it's not confusing. And yeah, then here you just need to change your administrative regions, administrative districts to the type of districts that work for you, and actually change the data that is corresponding to those districts. And I have prepared a little sheet here, already adjusted. So like I said before, I just made a copy of that template and I filled it in with data that makes sense for me. So what you need to change is the colored labels here, the one in green and red. And if you have more district, you can add more, you know, if you have maybe, for example, after village, also, I don't know what you can have, maybe some micro district. That doesn't make sense, but yeah, you get the idea. You can dig it even next level. So here is just example for 3-layered type of cascade. And for me, the biggest level is oblast. So I change it here to oblast and also here. And I'm only gonna do this survey, let's say for 2 oblast, Ocean Chui. And as for the district, I do it as, I'm also changing district here, and I'm adding actually the districts that correspond to my oblast. So here you see that Osh, for Osh, my 2 districts are Nokat and Alai. And for Oblast Chui, sorry, there are 3 districts that I enter here. And for Chui, I only have 1, which is Karakulja. And it might be a bit overwhelming, but yeah, I think it's once you just practice it a bit, it's actually quite easy, but at first time it might be a little bit confusing. But yeah, the idea is that you just fill it in all the levels of details you want. So for villages, I'm doing kind of the same thing. I'm inputting the village, and here on the column where it says districts, so because village, the parent of village is a district. So I am actually typing in the name of the district which this village refers to. So I only have 2 districts set up in this sheet. So I hope this is somewhat clear. And basically, once this is set up, what you need to do is just to copy and to go back to your form. And here you can see insert cascading select. So this is a special function. So what you need to do is just copy paste that fields here. No formatting needed, nothing. You just copy paste and done. And hopefully you get your cascading question set up. So we have something here. Let's check if that worked out in the preview. All right, so we see here, yeah, we have oblast, which is Osh, district, which is Alai, and we can select a village. So it worked, and yeah, that's quite nice. A bit UI wise could be better, I think, but also it's not too difficult to set it up. So yeah, and later I'm going to share a presentation, and here you can find like some useful links how to do different things. So yeah, this is one of the things. Actually, let me get back to my presentation and see if I have covered already all the question types. So we know how to do select one and select many. We know how to do the skip logic. We know how to enter coordinate questions and validation logic and cascading questions. So actually, we're done with the things that I wanted to to show you guys. So let's do the following. Yeah, I hope you had a bit of now like understanding how the tool works, how to enter different types of questions, and yeah, you know how to start if you need to design a survey. So now what I would ask you to do is to actually, so I'm going to first show you how to deploy the survey so that we can actually collect data. So how to do it now, you go to this main page and in the form, so we can deploy it. So it's undeployed yet, and we have 12 questions. It's last saved at 11:27, 3 minutes ago. So seems like it's the right version. So let's, so I'm just going to show you how to deploy it. As simple as this, just click this button. Okay, so we have some notification here, overwriting existing deployment. Yeah, I think we're fine. Don't think we're going to ruin anything there. Maybe somebody has deployed, or maybe I deployed it recently before. So that's why it's asking if I want to overwrite the previous version. But what we are actually just did is we have made our survey available publicly, so to say, so that we can share it with actually respondents and with our surveyors. So now if I go here and copy, and now if I go to my to that link, I am able to actually see the survey form. So now what I would ask everybody to do to fill in this questionnaire so we can finally collect some data. And please answer all questions. I forgot to make all the questions mandatory. So it will actually allow you not to answer some questions, but you see here, it's asking me about my location. So maybe let's have 2 minutes for answering, so for collecting data. And then we can, I can show you the part of moving to the report summary and how to export data. And then you can just click submit button, obviously. And feel free to submit multiple, questions, surveys. So while we are getting your responses, one thing I wanted to show you, you see now finally this data tab became active, so I can click on it. And I see in real time as the data is being collected, and I can see, can navigate and check Cool. So we have already some data. Thanks so much for the responses. And what I want to show you with regards to this data tab is you can see here, there are several options here: table, reports, gallery, downloads, and map. Maybe we can start with the easiest one, the map here. If you click on it, you can already see all the places of the respondents, which is super cool. You can check in real time, or once the data is uploaded to the server, where your responses are. Of course, now it's fake data, but like normally, like it would be somewhere in one region. And yeah, this is nice. I think it's a really cool feature. Then going to the table option, you can see the data that is being collected, and one row is one survey, one respondent. So you can actually see here. And what is interesting here, so here are all our questions and the data we have collected. And in the very end, there is some metadata that automatically is being collected by KoBoToolbox. So for example, the version of our survey and the unique identifier to each response. Maybe this one is unique identifier, and actually I'm not sure what's the difference, but yeah, it's not so important. But well, yeah, what is interesting, you have automatically submission time and who submitted it. So you can also set up, I will show you later how to submit it, so you know also which of your surveyors maybe in your team did which surveys. So it would be interesting to know maybe, okay, and if you have some strange answers, you can say to your surveyor and ask, yeah, why, yeah, this looks strange. Are you sure this data is correct or not? So this is nice feature as well. And finally, moving to the report tab. So here you can see some statistics. So there is statistics here, and there is also summary here. Yeah, so summary is just a summary on general, like on general surveying. So we see here we had 10 surveys in total, and they were all collected in past 7 days. And if we would have them in different days, then we would have the picture here, how many were collected each day, which is quite useful when you are doing your survey works. And you can see when this questionnaire was last modified, especially when you are collaborating on the survey design with somebody, you can make sure that you're using the right versions. And now let's go back to the data page. And here, yeah, the report. In comparison to the summary, the report is more like provides statistics on each of the questions in the questionnaire. So for initials, you can actually see all the values imported because it's a text question. There's nothing much you can do with it. You cannot really calculate the mean or something. But for example, for age, it automatically calculates average age of your respondent. So we had an average 31 years, and yeah, the standard deviation, and like, yeah, some maybe useful stats. Yeah, we can see what's our spread by gender, and yeah, how many of different livestock people have, and both in the chart and in tabular form. So this is quite already could be maybe for some projects enough, the reporting capability for further analysis. Yeah, so that's just for you to know how to navigate here. And you cannot change those graphs. You cannot change their layouts, colors, nothing, but they are just there for you to check on the basic statistics for each survey question. And now what I wanted to show you here is the downloads, which is once we have collected data, we have to export it, right? So we want to maybe export it to Excel or maybe to some other format where we can further check the data and maybe do some other graphs, which we cannot do in KoBo. And here, for this purpose, you go to downloads and you have to select the type of output that you would like, in which format. And as you can see here, it gives possibility for different types of exports. And maybe if you would only export GPS coordinates, you would enter here. But normally it's what I use is either Excel or CSV. And for this specific project, because we are going to import this data to Looker Studio, to the data analysis tool, the requirement is that data exported in CSV format. And here you can set up if you would like to have as headers labels or XML values. Sounds a bit confusing, but it's nothing else but if you go to your report and remember when we have set up in our cascading options, there is an option to have it as label, so no cut, and then maybe some abbreviation. So for Chongalai, abbreviation is CA, for example. So label is how the user sees your answer and your question, and name is how it's stored in your database. So for me, I always choose the way it's stored because it's easier. And here there are usually like a lot of, it's usually just either too long or too many special characters. So I just don't want to mess up with those. So my suggestion is to always use, sorry, where is it? Now I need to go back to downloads. So we select CSV and XML values. So XML values is exactly what I just said. It's not going to be the labels, but it's going to be those shortened type of column names that we have set up. So you could already export right now, or there's also advanced options. So usually I use some advanced options for checking if I, for example, have some questions that I don't want to be exported. So like I said previously, KoBo automatically adds some metadata like the version, the index. So I don't really need all those data and don't want in my export to be there because anyway, I'm not going to use it. So I just click out them, deselect them, and also don't need start and end of my survey. So yeah, that's it. And maybe for some, if, for example, say you have asked people for their real names instead of initials, and you, for confidentiality reasons, you don't want to your export to have their names, then you would also deselect initials, for example. So the rest of the questions I'm fine with, and yeah, there is more options, but I think with time we are a bit constrained now, so I'm just going to make it quick. And yeah, that's not too important, I would say, as well. So we don't need to spend time on it right now. So for me, what is important is I want to select my questions. I want data to be in CSV. I want XML values as headers. And yeah, I want to include data from all my versions. That's fine. Okay, so I just do this export. So what it does first, it doesn't download my data yet. It only gives you here now in your export version. You can see it now here. And because you can have different types of export versions, and you can even save them under different names, because maybe some data export is going to be used by your data scientist, but some by somebody else. So you need different set of data, and your questionnaire is so long, so you don't want to mess up with too many questions there. So you can pre-select different types of export advanced, let's say, like templates. And here, yeah, you can see both of them right now here, and I can finally download it. And yeah, it's being downloaded, and I can open it. 1 second, and feel free to do it also in the meantime as well. So there's it's here. I'm just going to open it with Excel. So here it is, our export. Okay, I should have deselected the first question too, because it's not even a question, it's just some hint, like some helper text. So I'm just going to remove it right now. And yeah, the rest is fine for me. So I can now move on to do one more thing. So the problem is, and Justine, you've asked me previously, what are the problems with what are the challenges with KoBoToolbox? And here, yeah, I just want to mention some things to consider. Although the tool is quite useful for a free version, I would say, and I hope you guys had also this impression that you can do various things with it quite easily. It's user-friendly and so on. But of course, there are things to consider. So since the tool is free, there is limited level of support available. So if there is maybe some bug you discover, or maybe something you cannot manage to do, there is active user community. If you Google some question, you will probably find out the answer to it, but could be that you need to really look and check. And yeah, it's not like you can email somebody for your specific problem and they will reply. So that's probably not going to happen. So something to consider. And there are some space limitations. So up to 5 gigabytes of data you can store. But that corresponds to, I think, either 10,000 or 100,000 of entries. So unless you're doing a huge study, I would not worry. But if you're doing really huge study, maybe I would consider first checking, yeah, how much space it might take, and yeah, if that's going to be enough. Yeah, then customization is a bit limited. Yeah, that's actually, I think for most of the problems, it's fine. You can do any survey with it, but once some things that you really need to, yeah, make it, let's say, even like with the example with this cascading thing, I find it's, yeah, it's a bit of a workaround. Yeah, so it's not really nice solution. It works, but yeah, it's not like it's super like built in the user interface. So yeah, there is some customizations. Yeah, you might need to find some workarounds. Yeah, and then there is one other things that I wanted to show you, but I'm not going to do that because it's, yeah, don't have much time. Just maybe very quick glimpse. Because I really find it cool. The XLS forms, which is kind of the same questionnaire design, but based in XLS form. And to give you just a quick introduction to it, why you could use it, why it would be relevant is when maybe you are collaborating with many people and your questions, like you really, yeah, you don't want to always go to that KoBoToolbox and check and like enter new question and wait for feedback. You can do it in Excel, but you just need to have a specific format for your Excel. You have to have all those columns and 2 main tabs there. And each of your, like there is always begin group and end group, which corresponds to each survey section. So for example, in this template, section 1 is some information about the household, and is again some information on the household, then contact information, and then the questions. So actually it's quite easy to understand. And yeah, this is something you might want to check out if you don't like navigating too much and you're collaborating a lot with other your colleagues. And here you can maybe change and comment on questions, collaborate here. And then the cool part of it, remember when we were asked, when we are creating a new project, we are asked if we want to build it from scratch, use a template, or upload from XLS form. So this is exactly what we would do then in that case. We'll just drag that form, which I just showed here, and it will automatically convert it to a nice KoBoToolbox. Yeah. So, and then you can do your changes and just upload a new version. And this is quite nice. All right. So these are the things to consider. And another thing to consider is this format where we have just left, like I said, yeah, it's CSV that we need for Data Studio, for the Looker Studio, but it doesn't have to be just CSV. It has to be also UTF-8 format. So one second, I'm sorry, okay, so here, data export options, and we have to use the CSV UTF-8, otherwise that Looker Studio will not allow you for this. Yeah, and maybe just as a last, I see that people are leaving. Thanks so much for joining. And yeah, maybe as a last thing, let me just show you a quick intro to the Looker Studio. So this is what I've done based on the collected data from our actual project. So the nice thing about it, you can make it really interactive and you can customize it. You can add as much helper text as you need, and yeah, make it really like tell a story. And you can scroll, and you can add some filters. I didn't add it here, but you could add, like, for example, filter on a specific district or on a specific maybe location, and then data is automatically limited to your filter conditions. So this is something that took me a bit to construct. But once you do it, you can just share it with your stakeholders, collaborators, and I think it's quite nice to have data in a like such an interactive format. And yeah, so some of you, I remember, have heard of this tool, and yeah, unfortunately, like, time is not enough to really show you how it works, but let me just show you just a glimpse, because I find it really, like, maybe even the most challenging part is just importing data, because that's where sometimes you already fail. And how you import data, let's just import data from our CSV to the Data Studio, to the Looker Studio. So and what I am going to do here, I want a new project. Okay, it doesn't let me do it here. Okay, let me just open a new project. So I create a new report, and okay, so the report is there, but we don't have any data there. So first, what we need to do is upload data, and there are so many options, like all the possible sources you can upload data from, which is really cool. It's a lot of integration possible. So for us, it's file upload, what we're going to do. And I'm just going to speed up things. I already have some data, some CSV data with my previous version of the project, of the form. So yeah, now it's uploaded and we are adding it as a data source. And then we can actually get started already. So one thing, yeah, let's just play around with it. So here you can see your dashboards page, and yeah, this is basically your report. On the right hand side, you can see your data. So gender, yeah, your type of questions. So the names of your questions. So you can just maybe drag and drop them, and it automatically pre-selects some formats in which it's going to be shown. But what you can do is just play around with that format here in this part, which is called chart, and you go to style. Oh, sorry, no, you go to chart, and maybe I want to see it in a form of a bar charts, and I've had some bad data. Sorry about that. So there is some without any label, but the idea is clear. We have some respondents from Osh, some from Chuy, and some from other district. Yeah, so that's how easy it could be to play with this tool at the start. You just literally drag and drop. You just can check out what's the average age of your respondent. For this, you need to change here the dimension. So here in the setup tab, you can actually play with your metric. So my metric is age now, and I can say I want it. So one more thing here, you can see that it recognizes my age as text, which is should not be the case. It should be numeric type of format. And in order to change that, I can do it from data source. So I go back to my data source, which is here. Yeah, I click to my data source, which I just imported, my CSV file, and I want to edit it. And once I click on it, I can see here my fields and the type of question, the type of data. And as you can see, it automatically recognizes that maybe age, so maybe ID is number, but the rest is recognized as text. So I want to convert age to number so I can do some nice calculations on my age data. So let's see now if we are saving it. Where can we save it? I think it's automatically saves. Let's check. So now, yeah, you can see it's 1, 2, 3. So it's already in number format, and we can actually, well, let's see, let's check out age by gender. So I want to add as a dimension. I want to see what was the average age of my respondents by gender. And here it automatically does the sum. So here I can change it. I want average. And you can see here our females are on average older than male. So that's just one quick, simple example. Really, just you can play around. It might be a bit overwhelming at first, but yeah, once you get a bit used to it, the things that are important is how you import your data in Data Studio, and that your data is in the right format. So one more thing I wanted to show you is how to convert your coordinates, because you see here it recognizes them as text. However, I can actually convert them to GPS coordinates, but one of the formats that it allows is latitude and longitude. So we need to provide it in this format. And for this, since we don't have already a field that has it in that format, we need to add a new field, so kind of a calculated field. And we call it maybe GPS coordinates. And what it's going to be It's altitude. So we are going to concatenate, right? So it's by the way, the formulas are very similar to Excel. So if you're good with that, you're going to be fine here too. So we need to concatenate altitude and, sorry, latitude and longitude. And in between, we need also a comma. So that's the requirement, how Data Studio wants to read our coordinates. So yeah, that's why we also need to add comma in between. Now we have added this just below. So we need to save it. Finished. And now is last thing I wanted to show you guys. So please stay with me. So GPS coordinates. Here is our new field. So we can drag it here. And now that it's in a format that is recognized by Data Studio, we can apply a nice visualization to it, but it doesn't like it still. Okay. Well, it could be that maybe because of this null missing coordinate, it doesn't see it. But yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, that would end up having, we would end up having a nice map here. Unfortunately, didn't work out, and I don't want to spend too much time on fixing that problem. All right, so just to catch up, there's some things about Looker Studio. Yeah, it's also free. It's I think the best thing I like about it is collaboration and sharing. So it's a Google product. Anybody who has a Google account, you just can share with them, and you can share with also with people publicly, just as a viewers. And it's also quite user-friendly. As you could see, you can just drag and drop, play around with different chart types, but it also gets a bit complicated when you want your more specific outcomes of your dashboard. But for the start, I think it's quite user-friendly and interesting, and you can make a really interactive dashboard with this tool. Things to consider for the data import, like I said, it must be in UTF-8 format, comma separated. Oops. Yeah, this is something I think we can maybe have another session on Google Studio specifically, because yeah, that's just too much information. Yeah, and things to consider here is to always check your data type and convert them if needed. Select many questions are hard to visualize. Yeah, this is something we didn't cover, but the select many questions are those questions where you can yeah, remember when we have set up those questions in our form where we could have multiple answers, like we have different types of livestock in our household, and those questions are really hard to visualize in Looker Studio, and I'm not going to go into details right now, but if you actually try it out and it rings a bell for you, you can check that presentation. And here I put some link where nice workaround what to do in case you want to visualize those multi-select questions. There's a nice blog with the steps you need to do. Okay, and then last 2 points, there is some limited data manipulation options. So you need to clean data, pre-process data in advance. So that's very recommended before you input it into the Data Studio. And it's only you can only use it online, so you cannot use it offline. All right, so we're done. And I think the main focus was really the KoBoToolbox for this session. So I hope you got really some experience with it. You could play around with it, and maybe you are considering using it for your future surveys. And as for the Looker Studio, it was quick intro, but yeah, like I said, we could have another session on it separately, or you can also email me if you have some questions. If you don't know how to start with it, I can also provide you some information. thank you so much for staying with me till the end. And now if you have any questions, yeah, feel free to ask and maybe just also give your feedback. And I already see some questions from Hussein. Is there an app for KoBoToolbox? Yeah, there is an app for KoBoToolbox. You can use it for, I think, both Android and iOS. Definitely for iOS. So that I need to check, but there is an app for it, for sure. No, definitely don't need to carry laptops for the survey part. It would be really not an improvement for the survey field collection process. Thank you for your feedback. Yeah. So question, best to have many accounts or one account when multi-teams working together? On the data collection stage, I guess it depends if you want your data to be put as in the same survey results. So maybe you want the same survey to be used in different countries, or maybe it's not so applicable. But basically, yeah, I would say use the same, use different accounts, because having different accounts means that you can track who is actually using, doing the survey. So you can see your like your surveyor ID here submitted by, and you can retrack it if there is any problem, and you can track performance of your team. So you can set up, for example, team accounts, and then you would see which team is doing what and where. I guess we can wrap it up. Thanks so much for invitation, and always, yeah, really happy to be here. Justine, Jackie, that's really great platform for collaborating on the snow leopard research, and I'm really glad to be part of it. So thanks for inviting me, and I hope everybody had something to learn today.
Thank you so much, Alton. I thank you. That was an immense effort. And I think it was literally a tutorial, which is going to be a very valuable resource for us at SLN. And I think we'll definitely be inviting you back again.
Thanks. Yeah, feel free to email me.
If anyone has any queries for Altynai, you can also send it to us and we can send it on to her. We'll hopefully see you again soon.
Sure. Thank you.